Hey, how's it going, guys? Mr. Boss for the win here, and in today's Grand Theft Auto 5 video, I'm going to be talking to you guys about some tips and tricks that you absolutely need to know before you source or sell another vehicle in Grand Theft Auto Online. So I figured this would be the perfect time to kind of make a part 2 to this series of doing the tips and tricks on importing and exporting, because right now there is a ton of bonuses and discounts going on at the moment, including 25% more Grand Theft Auto cash for exporting vehicles. And as we'll touch on in a little bit, that can actually lead to a significant amount of money. And a little bit later on in the day, I'm going to be doing a live stream showing off sort of these practices in use. So it should be a lot of fun. But without the way, let's not waste any more time and let's jump straight into this. So the first thing I need to tell you guys about is how you can only get top range vehicles. For those of you guys who don't know, there's 3 tiers: standard, mid, and top range. Top range are the one you want. For the longest time, I said that getting the collection cars was still pretty good, but I've kind of changed my thought process on this. Top range cars are the ones you want. And unfortunately, by default, there's no way to only acquire top range vehicles. Rockstar's going to give you a random range of, getting some standard, then mid, then top. But what if there was a way to trick the system? So according to GTA Forums user Sag Rawa, hopefully I'm pronouncing your name correctly, I apologize if I'm not, and Reddit user I Am No Hero, they have put together sort of a really cool guide and how you can only get top range vehicles. So the trick to getting this to work is to getting one of each of the standard and mid-range vehicles. Now, I will say this will probably work best with a 100% clear warehouse. Otherwise, it might be a little bit confusing. You don't know what things might break the system or whatnot. So there's 10 standard range cars: the Bestia GTS, Sabre Turbo, Tampa, Banshee 900R, Nightshade Jester, Turismo R, Feltzer, Massacro, and Alpha. And there's 10 mid-range ones as well: Tropos Rally, 770, Sultan RS, Cheetah, Cocket Classic, Verlier, Omnis, Zentorno, Entity, and Blackfin. I know this might be a little bit confusing, but I'll leave links to everything I'm talking about in the description so you can see it a little bit better for yourself. And then that leaves us with the top vehicles, the top range ones, and there's 12 of them: Roosevelt Valor, ETR1, Z-Type Tyrus, Mamba, FMJ, T20 Reaper, X80 Proto, 811 Osiris, and Sterling GT. So the trick is that you're going to have to get one of each one of those vehicles: all the standard, all the mid-range, and then all the top range cars. And then once you've got a total of 32 vehicles, that being the 10 standard, 10 mid-range, and 10 top range, what you'll then need to do is sell all 12 of your top range vehicles. You can do these one by one, or you can do them 4 at a time, thus doing them 3 total times. And then from there, all you're going to have to do is continue to source cars until you have all 12 top range vehicles again, and then repeat the process. Because your warehouse is going to have those mid-range and standard range vehicles in there, the game is going to be tricked into thinking you only need top range vehicles to sort of balance out the scales. I don't know technically how the process works, but that's what happens. When you've got all 10 of the mid-range and then all 10 of the standard range, it's only going to leave you with top range vehicles to source and sell. And because of the way the selling cooldown timer works, you really won't have to ever worry about running out of top range cars as long as you just continually source 1 or 2 cars during those cooldown periods. Because by the time you get to the point where you can sell again, you should just have a bunch of other top range cars in which you can sell. And because this week we have a bonus going on where you get 25% more money, that means if you sell one of the top range vehicles to the specialist dealership, which I recommend you should do 100% of the time, you're going to be getting $125,000 per vehicle you sell. So if you were to just sell the top range vehicles once, that being all 12 of them, and you got $125,000 per each one, that's easily putting you over the $1 million mark right there. And like I said, you can use this and combine it with buying and selling crates, resupplying your MC businesses, sourcing and selling other cars. There's a lot of things you can do here, but there's people that have been saying they've been making about $3 million per day if they really grind grind at it, if they have fun with their friends, typically around $1 million per day. So there is a lot of money that can be made here by making sure you only have top range vehicles in your vehicle warehouse. Like I said, I know the process is a little bit tricky and the setup might take a little bit longer than necessary, but once you've got those standard and mid-range cars in there, you are set where you're just going to be getting top range cars for the rest of your life on here. So that is super cool. So I'd be very curious to hear from you guys in the comment section down below. Has this method worked for you? If you haven't tried it yet, try it, report back to me, see how it ultimately works, and if you're only getting the top range vehicles. Now, I think this method works way better than methods that I've tried in the past, which has just been to leave the lobby and find a new one if I didn't get a top range vehicle. But then you're just playing the odds games where it's going to be randomly up to Rockstar depending on which vehicle they give you. So in some cases that works, in some cases that doesn't, and you've got to switch lobbies, which again is kind of unfortunate. So try this method if you want, and it'll be a great way for you to only get top range cars and to make the most money possible. Now, let's move on to some more tips and tricks. And even though I just mentioned that leaving the lobby to get the vehicle you want might not be the best idea as it is a time waster, one thing you can do is you can actually leave your warehouse, or leave your office, I should say, and determine where the vehicle location is going to be. And you can actually leave the lobby to do the same thing once you know the destination of the car. So what I'm saying here is if you source a car and you find out that it's in Paleto Bay, or that it requires you to go to the Humane Labs, grab a Cargobob, go to the other side of the map, honestly, it might not be worth it, especially if it's not a top range vehicle. So for that case, once you find out where the vehicle is, you can do the same thing, hit start, find new session, and it should put you back into your office, and it should have reset the timer where you can instantly source a car. So while I don't recommend doing it when you're in your office after just finding out what type of car it is, once you find out the location, then you might want to, because some missions go from very easy, like it's 5 steps away, deliver it to this point. Others, it's on the other side of the map, grab a Cargobob, etc. And those honestly don't seem to be worth it, especially given the type of car you might get and the amount of damage that might go on the car as well. So just keep that in mind when you are sourcing. Let's move on to another tip though, and this actually has to do with one of the vehicle sourcing missions that require you to tail a vehicle back to its hideout. So these missions kind of remind me of what used to happen in Assassin's Creed, when your goal was to like follow someone and they would like do various laps around the city, eventually getting to their location, and you had to do this without getting spotted. Well, in the case of Grand Theft Auto Online, there's a detection meter, and believe it or not, it makes more sense for you to set off that detection meter, because if not, you're going to be following around the world's slowest car. So set off the detection meter, the mission isn't going to fail, the car isn't going to go away. The only thing it's going to do is drive faster, which will just get you to the mission quicker and will allow you to source the car much faster. Like I said, if you don't do this, which I've done before, this guy drives around slower than just some of the worst NPC drivers you've ever seen. So you definitely want to set off the detection. It's going to make him go faster. You're going to get to your mission quicker, and you'll be able to source your car so much faster. This next trick is actually very useful for when NPC helicopters are chasing you. These guys are so pesky because the machine gun damage they do to your car is ridiculous. However, I figured out a really cool trick in order to get the helicopters to not respawn, but they won't be able to do any damage to you. So the NPC helicopters that come after you, number one, it's just a pilot and a gunner in the passenger seat. There's no one like sitting out on the back or in the back seat. So what you can actually do is just try and take out the guy in the passenger seat, and that's the guy shooting you. And if you do that without killing the helicopter pilot, what the pilot will do is just follow you around. And because he can't shoot you, he can't actually do any damage to you. And because he's not dead, the game won't send another helicopter to come after you. So this is a great way in which you can avoid damage being done to your car. And I wish I had known this earlier, because you guys can see right now, I was, avoiding this helicopter and ended up doing like $10,000 worth of damage to my vehicle here. Whereas if I had just gotten out of my car and sniped him out or shot him out in the first place, I could have easily just taken all the roads with this helicopter dude just trying to follow me around. Obviously, he couldn't do any damage to me, and that way he wouldn't, decrease the amount of profit I'm going to be getting. So combine that with some of the tips that I told you about in my previous video, where if you do decide to get on the road and the helicopter start chasing you, once again, get out and shoot the guy in the passenger seat. He's the one with the gun, and then you'll be able to safely deliver your vehicle. So keep that in mind right there. All right, and finally, last but not least, this one might be a little bit obvious, but I still think it was worth mentioning. There's a reason I like selling my vehicles in a lobby with not a lot of people. Number one, you're likely to not get any resistance when selling the cars. If you have a fewer number of people, there's obviously a fewer chance that someone's going to come after you. But I think the game lobby and the online world is much more stable with fewer people. I know that we can have like up to 30 players in a lobby, but I don't think that's when Grand Theft Auto Online is at its best. I think that it's incredibly unstable, and that's what sometimes causes NPCs to start, fluctuating between lanes, driving into each other, spawning out of nowhere. As you guys can kind of see right now, I'm doing one of these selling missions, and I think there's only like 8 or 9 people in here, and the lobby is so smooth. NPCs aren't, stuttering and bumping all over the place. No one seems to be bumping into me. So look for a lobby, number one, that doesn't have a lot of players, but also kind of get a feel for the lobby as well. Make sure there's nothing too crazy going on. Make sure you have a good connection. Make sure there's no stuttering. And that also kind of goes back to the point, you don't want to disconnect either. Because if you disconnect from the lobby, number one, you lose the car. But number two, you also have to still wait for the cooldown period, which is a double whammy right there, because you lost money and you won't be able to make money for a whole lot longer because the system has locked you out. And if you guys are curious and asking yourself, well, does any of this actually work? Those tips and tricks, in theory, they sound great. Yeah, my friend Volt FFA, who's been doing some of the same things that I've been doing, I've been seeing him post on Twitter and whatnot. This was a day ago. You can see his total export earnings is over $10 million. And then just updated today, this is what it is now, almost $13 million. So using some of the tips and the tricks that I've showed you guys today, this is what your vehicle exporting page could look like. And I'm sure a lot of you guys would love to see that amount of money as well as we prep for whatever is coming up next and whatever could be new in Grand Theft Auto Online. But really, that's all the information that I have for you guys in this video today. Some more tips and tricks and things that you guys absolutely need to know before you source or sell another vehicle in Grand Theft Auto Online. Let me know if these tips were pretty helpful for you in the comment section down below. If they were and you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop it a like. That would be awesome. And subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are new or you like daily GTA 5 videos like this. With out of the way, guys, like I said, thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.